It's time to put a strategy behind our 353X dice set. Stick around, let's see if we can make some money. There's an endless debate in the craps community. Can dice setting actually create a player advantage? Between the grip, the load, the launch, and the landing, the sources of variation seem endless. But if we can minimize those variables with consistent technique, can we actually find an edge? How many rolls can a specific set survive before the dreaded 7 ends the run? We're putting the physics to the test and collecting the raw data. Is it skill or just plain luck? Let's find out on this episode of What Are the Odds? So here's where we're pulling together all of the results of our 3531, 3532, 3535, and 3536 dice sets. All four of those dice sets had a collective roll count of 295 rolls before we produced 47s with our longest no 7 streak of 25 rolls. And as we look at this on a as rolled basis, the 8 is the only number that actually beat the 7, whereas the 6 ended up tying the 7. Statistically, among all the dice sets, our 11, 5, and 8, respectively, were the best performing numbers against the standard, and our 9 was the absolute worst, statistically speaking. And looking at that gap on the 7 to the standard, which is 49.3, is very telling of this dice set. Pulling these numbers together by sister sets, our 3 and 11 were our top performers, followed by the 2 and the 12. So our extremes here roll really well with the 353X dice set. The 6 and 8 were slightly favorable to expectations, and we did come up short both on the 4 and 10 and the 5 and 9. Hardways here weren't very noteworthy. However, the 10 did definitely see some favoritism, and our horns were just absolutely superior. We threw 14 more horns than expected among all four of these dice sets, and every single horn was an outperformer. So when we put the summary of these 353X dice sets up side by side, we see some very interesting things here. One is that these sets are neutral at worst. Another is that 3 of the 4 were light side favorites, but the dice set standing out and performing the most favorably was by far the 3536, and that is what we are going to build a strategy around today. So we'll keep it pretty simple here and establish 2 rules for our casino dice setting strategy. Rule number 1, when the puck is off, we will throw a variety of the 3531, 3532, and 3535. This is only when the puck is off and in order for us to set the point. And rule number 2, we'll continuously throw the 3536 while the puck is on. We saw the most favoritism here, so let's just keep running with it. Very simple rules, and we'll explain the betting strategy at the table. Welcome to this live rollout of the 353X dice set. Based on how we rolled the 3536, I'm going to build a strategy just around rolling the 3536. We got a lot of rolls out of that, and I want to see if it was a fluke or if there was something to it. We saw a lot of favorability on the 4 and the 5, if you recall, the 10, the hard 10, and even the 6, when we look at the 2 sisters here, was more favorable than the 8. So basically from the 7 down, including the 2, 3, and the 11, 12 were also hitting, the horn numbers popped off. So with 5 shooters, we will go in here with $500, $100 a piece. I'm going to try to keep this consistent for each shooter in my betting methodology. And again, bear with me because this is something I'm going to tailor here as we go. So let's get our first shooter to come out, and we'll roll the 3536 exclusively when the puck is on, and then we'll alternate the other dice set combos when we're trying to set a point. So let's start with a 3531 out of the gate. That's not a good start. You know what, let's dice off the table. Let's change it up here and get a couple of new die. All right, let's try this again. We'll go 3, 5, 3, 1. We are out on the 5. All right, let me show you how this $100 will break down. So we'll get change here for this 100. We're gonna buy the 4 and 10. We're gonna place the 5. And with the balance of our $100, we're gonna take the 5 up to 35. So all three of these numbers will hit at 49. We're gonna place a hard way bet on the 10, $5 on the C&E, and we'll have a $5 bullet in reserve. That represents our first shooter. So there is how our $100 is allocated. So really we have 95 on the table in play. And here we'll go exclusively with a 3, 5, 3, 6 strategy. There's a 3. We're on the CE. That's going to get us 15. I'm going to hold on to that right now as bullets. We're not going to run that what would have been 20 into the horn until we're in profit. And ultimately, I would like to place the 6. So we'll manage our bankroll there per shooter of when we place that 6. 3, 5, 3, 6. That's a 7 out. All right, no biggie. That one just came quick. I believe we rolled 3 7s in the last like 6 or 7 rolls in the simulation. So all we need is one shooter to get on a tear, and we should be off to the races. All right, let's go for another point here with a new set of dice. Let's start out here with the 3, 5, 3, 2. And that'll put us out on an 8. And we'll start out our betting the exact same way. 5, 4, and 10. Place the 5 for 35. We'll have a $10 horn, a $5 horn on the 10. Excuse me, a $5 hard way on the hard 10, CE bet, and 5 in the rack. I don't normally bet hard ways, so I guess just saying that is kind of new vernacular. 3, 5, 3, 6. That's a 6. It's going to be no help to us. Got to put that 100 back. We lose the C&E, but we'll replace it. If we lose the C&E again, we're going to take our hard way and we'll run that into the C&E as well. 3, 5, 3, 6. Here we go. That's a 6. No help. We lose the C&E. We have one last chance to hedge on that C&E. It's not even a hedge, really. Just get a little bit of upside. 3, 5, 3, 6. And if we hit an 11, we can go in and place our 6. Speaking of 6, isn't that something we would have wanted to be out on and alive? This is how they roll. You just never know. 3, 5, 3, 6. But with all this amazing dice control, we should be able to hit these 4s and 5s. All right, there's a 10. We like that 10. We didn't lose anything on our, I'm gonna make change here actually to go 2 green for 1 white. So I need 4 of these guys back. And here's how we'll boost our money in the middle here. We're gonna take the 4 up and the 5 up, both to 50. So this will pay 98. This guy here will pay 70. And we're gonna run CE bets back in. We'll have 2 opportunities here. 3, 5, 3, 6. A 4 will be a nice hit. Ask and you shall receive. Nice. Okay. So we lose the C&E. We do get 100 for 2. And we will come out with another C&E. $35, $36. That's a 6, no help to us. We do lose the C&E. And we're not going to touch profit from first shooter right now. We'll just leave things as is. All right, 35, 36. That's an 8. There's a point hit. So let's come out on a different dice set. We'll do the 3, 5, 3, 5. Out on the 6. And we'll go back to the 3, 5, 3, 6. Buckshot, smack the point, no help. And let's roll it back to a 3, 5, 3, 1 on the come out. Did not hit the back wall, but we made an attempt. I think the dealers would let that slide. So we're out on the 5. May have picked up a warning there from the dealers. 3, 5, 3, 6. Come on, let's just get one more hit here, get into the profit. And that's not meant to be. 7 out. Okay, let's go on to shooter number 3. See if we can turn this around a little bit here. That's why we have a bankroll, to manage the ebbs and the flows. And we will start out on a 3, 5, 3, 2. Three craps 3. No help. The puck is off, so many people affected here are pass line shooters. Let's go 3, 5, 3, 2. Or don't. There's a 7. You just keep both of those parties at parity. 3, 5, 3, 6. Nope. 3, 5, 3, 5. All right, we're out on the 10. Okay, 100 to the dealer. Same start. Buy, place. And we're back on the 3, 5, 3, 6. That's an 8. We lose the C&E. We will replace that. That's a very slow bleed when you're not hitting. 3, 5, 3, 6. A 9, not ideal. All right, I'm going to ask the dealer to move my hard way to the C&E. Three, 5, 3, 6. Here we go. It's a 6. We just bled our $15. We have to hope this 85 works for us here. Where are these 4s and 5s that the simulation was telling us were the rock stars? There's a hard 10. It came 2 rolls too late, but better late than never. There's 50 for 1. And I'm going to boost the 10 and the 4. Boost the outside numbers this time. I could regret this. I keep forgetting to put my initial $100 back on the rack. Oh, and that's a point hit too. Can't forget about that. Okay, puck is off. 3-5. Get so excited I actually hit a number. 3-1. Here we go. Good time for the puck to be off. But we did change the dice set too. So remember, we're such skilled dice setters. 3-5-3. Let's go back to the 1 again. That's a 6. Now I could have placed that 6 immediately, but what I'm really hoping for here is an outside hit so we can get our profit, or I should say get our original bet back, and then work on shooting for one more hit. That's a 9, no help. That one more hit would go into the profit and let us start doing some investments on the table while also taking profit. 3-5, 3-6. Hard 6, smack the point. I think I'm playing all the wrong numbers tonight. 3-5, 3-2. Let's go to that guy. And that is a 9er. Nina from Pasadena, 9. All right, back to the 3-5, 3-6. Have no money on a C&E. For that aces in both places. 3-5, 3-6. All right, there's a 4. It's going to be 98 or 100 for 2. Let's just take the 98. What the heck? Okay, so that's 75, 85, 95. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's just get the 6 right now. We could have squared up and waited for one more hit, but with these 6s that keep popping out, I feel like we need to get on that thing now. 3-5, 3-6. So we do have risk. That's a 9. That's a point hit. It's too bad we're not on the pass line. All right, let's go to the 3-5, 3-5. That's a yo. Five, 3-5 will stay on it. It's midnight. Boy, these would have been really nice to have a CE bet on. What's happening here? 3-5, 3-5. Okay. We're out on the 6, and we are going to position with a CE. So the only 2 numbers we don't have working for us are that 8 and 10. 3-5, 3-6. As I said, the only 2 numbers we don't have working for us are the 8 and 9. 3-5, 3-6. Okay, it's good to be on the C&E. We're just going to take the C&E to 10. Oh wait, we're still not in the profit. An 11 would be awesome here. That would pay us 70 bucks. 35, 36. a 10. I'll take the 98 though. All right, so it's going to be 100 for 1. We are now in the profit. And let's start investing on our next hit. In fact, I'm going to still put out on the C&E. 35, 36. Again, I'm kind of formulating this strategy as we go. Man, that's glad we got on that C&E. All right, since we are in the profit, it's 15. I'm going to take this $20 and put it on the horn. So we have $5 on each of the 2, 3, 11, 12. 35, 36. Again, we have every number covered but the 8 and 9. Ooh, a 4. All right. Thought that was a 3 there for a moment. 3 would have been really nice. That would have been $75. Or, I'm sorry. Yeah. Right? Yeah, 75. Okay, let's get back focused on this. All right, it's going to be 100 for 1. For 2, rather. And let's take our 5 up to 70. Just leave that there for right now. 35, 36. Oh, I meant to be on the C&E too. I forgot to put a nickel out there. The casino would not have given me that grace, and I won't give myself the grace either. 35, 36. All right, that's an 11. That's going to be a $35 hit. It's unfortunate because I would have left 10 on there, but it is what it is. Let's go ahead and just buy the 8. We'll leave that C&E on there as is. And we're closing into covering almost every number. Our 9s are only gap. 35, 36. All right, there's a hard 6 and a point hit. So we'll lose the C&E. That's going to pay us 35, and we're actually just going to buy the 9 there. And I'll wait to put that C&E out after we establish the next point. And let's go in on the 3, 5, 3, 5 maybe. We're out on the 8. And now we have every single number covered with the obvious exception. Nice. All right. That is boxcars. It's going to pay us 15. We're going to move this right into the horn. Now we'll see if we can parlay that guy. 35, 36. Boom! That's a nice parlay. All right, so we're going to lose 15 of that 20. Just pull this over to represent what happened here. So the 3 hit. So these will come down, and that pays 15 to 1, which is 75. So I'm gonna just pull that back here. I'm gonna take the 9 up a quarter. And let's also take the 6 and the 8 up. And we'll replace the C&E bet. Start over from the beginning. It was a nice parlay. Again, every number is covered here. 35, 36. That's an 8-point hit. That's going to pay us 42. Let's just start this way, please. All right, and that'll just come right back to the rack. And since we hit our point, we'll be setting a new one. We'll do that with a 3-5-3-1. So you got some nice money out on the table right now. It's all free money, so it's staying out, not pulling any of it back. We are just going to try to capitalize on the casino's money. That 2 is no help to us. 35, 31 again. We're out of the 5. All right, let's get a CE bet going here. Don't forget that guy. 35, 36. That's a 10. It's going to be 100 for 2. We lose the C&E. And what I'm going to do is take 50 bucks of that 100 we just won. And we'll take up the 5 and the 9 to 75. Those guys right there will pay us 105. And we don't want to forget the C&E. $35, $36. That's 2. 2 craps 2 is going to pay us 15 on the C&E. We'll run it right into the horn. Remember, we did 5 on each of those numbers. 35, 36. Ah, 7, and I felt it as soon as I released it that they went long and put so much extra spin on those bad boys. All right, so I think in the interest of time, we are going to call it there at that shooter. And we got a lot of money out there. And we can quickly count up where we left off, starting with 500 bucks as our initial bankroll. And forgive me as I fumble through this. That's 5, right? Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 75, 80, 4, 684, so $184 profit over 3 shooters. And yeah, that'd be good. I think I'd be very content with that. It's not 50%, but it's a good time to walk away. So there you have it. That was the 353X live rollout, focusing mostly on the 3536. Anxious to see what that looks like in the data set and how it compares to our trial rollout. So let's go check that out now. Instead of rolling all 5 shooters, we let time and money dictate the length of this video. These 3 shooters brought us 50 combined rolls with a long streak of 27. The standout here was the 6, and we saw a nice gap on the 7. Let's take a look by roll count to really get into the details. So we had several numbers here that beat the 7. As mentioned, the 6 was the dominant performer, followed by the 3 and the 8, and the 10 tied the 7. Statistically speaking, though, our best numbers were the 6, 3, and 2. Now our strategy was to play the 4 and 5 heavily, and you can see how they underperformed. Statistically, our 5 was our next to worst number, only to be beat out by the 7. The 7 was by far, statistically, the worst number rolled among all 50 rolls. Combining the numbers into sister sets, the 6 and 8 were the favorites. And as shown in our rollout videos, the extremes here performed well, with the 3 and 11 following next, and then the 2 and 12. The 5 and 9 just got completely rocked. And if you remember, the 9 was not very strong with all 4 sets combined, whereas the 5 was, but it just did not show up in this short 50 roll simulation. Hardways are definitely nothing to write home about. We expected to see the 10 more so than the other 3 numbers, and the 4 was the only one that met expectations here. We only fell less than 2 rolls short of hitting hardways in this short 50 roll set, but still really just a blah experience. But there's definitely something to be said about these horns. This casino simulation definitely seemed to support the individual dice set rolls of the 353X combined. We threw almost 57% more horns than the expected 8.3. Pretty impressive. And of those 13 horns we did roll, 3 of those rolled consecutively, and we never had back-to-back-to-back hits to run a full parlay. If you recall, we started on the CE. We didn't wait for a horn to trigger us to go into the C&E. That's why we had that horn hit. So let's go over and stack the data of these 50 rolls versus the 295 we collected in our data collection sets of the 3, 5, 3, 1, 2, 5, and 6. Some notables here: the 6 in the casino simulation really outperformed versus the individual dice sets combined, whereas the 5 was the complete opposite. So, we weren't playing the 6 for the most part in the casino simulation, and the 5 just was not producing for us. However, while we expected the 2 and the 3 to show up, it really showed up even in more full force than expected. The 12 did its thing, and the 11 came out fewer times than the expectation, and definitely fewer times than what it should have with these 4 dice sets. And the 10 was favorable to the standard and our data collection efforts. Unfortunately, it only produced 1 hardway 10. So let's go look at the sisters. This just validates what we just got done looking at. The 6 and the 8, because of the 6's strong performance, performed better than our data collection efforts in the standard. Our extremes in the 3 and 11 and 2 and 12 each outperformed our data collection results and the standard. The 4 and 10 were on point, and the 5 and 9 combined, while we expected it to fall short of the standard, we didn't expect it to fall as short of the data collection efforts. But again, worth noting on that 7, the 7 did fall short of the standard and fell short of the data collection effort. And since 34 of the 50 rolls were the 3, 5, 3, 6, we're just going to look at this dice set versus our data collection 3, 5, 3, 6 set, which provided 102 rolls. So you recall we built our strategy around 3 numbers, including a hardway and the horn. So let's start with the 10. The 10 did not let us down. Not only did it exceed our data collection efforts, it also exceeded the standard. In looking at the 4, a little bit of a disappointment. While it barely beat the standard, it came up way short of our data collection efforts. And for the major gut punch, where was the 5? I mean, I'm sitting there going, well, we'll eventually buy the 6 because it was a little more favorable to the 8, given the data collection. However, the 6 popped off. We certainly can't neglect the horns here. The horns did very, very well, as expected. The 3 absolutely dominated. The 2 did exactly as we expected. The 12 performed a standard, and the 11 came in just a little bit short. However, bottom line is, we made money with this dice set, and it's one I might take to the casino. These 6 and 8 were the top performers here, thanks to the 6 popping off. This would be followed up by the 3 and 11, the 4 and 10, and the 2 and 12. The 5 and 9 are embarrassing, thanks to the 5 going on vacation and not even calling to check in. So let's sum up the 353X dice sets. Collectively, we favor our light side. We leveraged the 3536 in this strategy, and it did outperform the 7. And also looking at the -1, -2, -5, which were the other 16 rolls, they collectively outperformed the 7. Combined, all 4 of these dice sets outperformed the 7, which is exactly what we strive for. We had 3 numbers beat the 7, and the 10 rolled just as many times as the 7. So 4 really good numbers sitting out there. And the 7 was statistically the worst performing number to the standard across all 50 of these rolls. The hard ways were lackluster. They fell more than a roll short of expectations overall. And the hard 10, well, that only rolled once in the 5 times that it came out. And the hard 8 never emerged. And our horns were absolutely superior, rolling 13 times versus an expected 8.3 rolls, with the 3 being the heavy favorite, showing up 6 times. And we did have 3 Sia horn beta horns, but we did alter our strategy here where we were playing on the CE. So while we did manage to parlay from a CE into a horn, we didn't have any true parlays in just going off the rule of thumb Sia horn beta horn. So that's back-to-back-to-back hits. We didn't have a single one of those. That is going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed that one. I certainly did. I thought the data was very interesting. If you have a dice set you want to see rolled out, please leave it in the comments below. I'll definitely take it into consideration. I hope you have an outstanding rest of your day. In the meantime, take care of yourself, and I hope to see you on the next episode of What Are the Odds?